705 item, the last item was review of new setup of D3 Yahoo groups that people walk us through. If anybody is signed up to the current D3 Yahoo group, you will notice that we are being asked to buy a lot of different music and other entertainment. So.
Russian brides, man. One's icy.
I'm sorry, I don't need one, but thanks. Yeah. Okay, so are there any other questions or comments regarding the illegal fireworks? Trudy, thank you so much for taking the time to come out and be with us. Okay, so right about on time, we're going to go into the District 3 CLC plan for the coming year. One of the things I especially admired about Pete when he was the chair is that he was very good about setting up some type of a work plan, which we all know we're an informal group, but it really is good to have a framework, a structure from which to go by to know what our priorities will be. So one of the things that we've talked about a lot is that the CLC would like to address issues that are common among our different neighborhoods. You know, District 3 is fairly large. It encompasses a variety of areas, but we always hear items like speeding, the cut through traffic. Illegal dumping is getting very hot right now, and I'm told that's partly because of people needing to move and not wanting to take their stuff or pay for having it disposed of properly. So we thought we would have a real quick discussion of the kind of things. I think the three I mentioned, everybody was nodding their heads, but if there were things that were not brought up as an example, if you just want to throw it out, then we can make a note. Because one of the items that the steering committee thought would be good was to set up a subcommittee for the 2015 work plan area. And one example that was given in the suggestions for announcements for next month's agenda was to invite Hans Larson from DOT regarding things like the speeding and the cut through traffic and what the options are. But if we wanted to do that, we really would have to have some kind of a subcommittee structure who could work with Hans and kind of let him know what it is we want to get out of his being here. That way we won't waste his time. We can be specific about what we want to talk about, and then he can give us ideas or examples of things that have been done within the city that would address our problems, that, you know, wouldn't get the fire department yelling at us for putting speed bumps and, you know, the kind of things that we always hear. So anybody want to start that discussion of throwing out any ideas? Bob?
Just a quick clarification question. What is the 2015 work plan area referred to?
Well, this is what the first bullet is. It's a discussion of the areas of common interest and concern. And once we find an idea that's of most common interest to this group, then we would try to set up a subcommittee for that work plan area.
Okay.
I'd like to add to that, Joan. So we talked about how can we make, you know, our CLC work for our district and our neighborhoods. And the idea is, rather than coming and getting a few, you know, a little bit of information or talking to our council member, we need to be more of a working type group. Now I know all our schedules are busy and everything, but the idea is that we're only a couple miles away from each other's neighborhoods and we have similar problems. So if you take a global problem like homelessness, we're not going to solve that. But if you take maybe a homeless guy, you know, sleeping constantly in front of the Walgreens, we can work with council members as far as, and the store as far as correcting that problem. That's just an example. And so some of the issues that we've heard a lot is, you know, speeding, traffic, dumping. So our idea, Bob, to go back off of the 2015 work plan is for us to kind of come up with some common themes, and then we could tackle it. It's set up a subcommittee, and we could all, the subcommittee could tackle it together. They could work with council member Peralez's council assistant and him directly. And then we could also share back at upcoming meetings, say, hey, this is what's going on. Because to be honest with you, if you ask, I find this to be true. If you ask 10 residents, 9, maybe all 10 of them, let me ask you, you know, what would you do? Don't answer this rhetorical.
That's the instruction, yeah.
Well, you know, who do you contact regarding speeding in your community? Right away, most of them, if not all of them, are going to say the police. That's not how we get things done, though. So those are some of the things that we need to cover as far as working with our residents in our community and working together with our council assistants. There's a process to getting speed bumps, to getting the speeding signs out there, to getting neighborhood watch groups out there. And you know, like I said, I know in my neighborhood, if I ask 10 people some of these questions, they'd be like, I don't know who to contact. Yeah, I didn't know it was code enforcement. So the thing is about providing our residents with the knowledge and the power of our community leaders in our neighborhoods to go back and to educate our residents on just, this is what you do with this problem. You gotta constantly call code enforcement, or you gotta talk to DOT. But I think with this group, though, is we can be the leaders. All of us in this room could be the leaders within this group and a part of these subcommittees where we could tackle these problems together. So let's say there's 4 neighborhoods and they all have speeding problems. We could outline where, when, how, why, and we can all tackle it together with the appropriate authorities. So this is my 2 cents.
Lovey?
Thank you for including the illegal dumping on that from our discussions that we had the last meeting. Calling code enforcement, the response each time is, we don't have enough staff. So there was a point to where we had trash, I think, started about 5 feet high in the neighborhood, and people were just about to set fire to it, which was going to be really a problem. So I called personally about 4 or 5 times and says, oh, we see you've called 3 times or this time. Do something about it. Send somebody out to take care of it before it becomes a hazard.
You make a good point. That's why if other neighborhoods who have the same problem jump on board, but not just that, I think code enforcement wants to see more than just you call. They want to see your neighbor call, this neighbor call, because we work with code enforcement as far as getting rid of a bar / other things that shouldn't be in our neighborhood. And it does take a village to do it, and I'll be honest with you.
Well, the response is we don't have enough staff. That is traditionally the ringing part of it. So I think this body can be proactive in terms of maybe assisting them or doing something proactively in the neighborhood, of doing a watch kind of a thing. Because what I see is it's consistently in the same area. Once it becomes a dump site, it continually becomes a dump site. And those people that live in proximity, and usually it's in a park area where there are no eyes on the street to see it kind of a thing, maybe we have to do neighborhood watch proactive. So perhaps that would be one of the proactive things, because evidently until we get staffing back up, that's pretty much the standard response.
Okay, so that's up for consideration. It is on the list. Tina, anything new to add to the list?
No.
Did you want to speak to one of the items that were currently suggested
I
as a
w-
subcommittee?
I wanted to speak to a general statement about some of these things.
Okay.
And that is, to Lovey's point about the response, well, we're short-staffed. A drum I'm constantly beating is the city of San Jose's, many of their processes, if not most, are broken. So this is something that maybe this subcommittee group could do, is also work to understand, well, what exactly is the process and where can we add efficiencies? What is outdated? Where can we insert technology? So that maybe it wouldn't take all of these resources, because we're no longer having to do 1950s type of, addressing of whatever the problem is, if that makes sense.
Got it. No, actually, I think that
That was where we were going with it.
that would
Yes.
be actually a great idea for the subcommittee. Dee?
So I've been, at least once a week or more, I've been driving over there on the north side to North Bay Shore near North 21st Street. They're having that chronic illegal dumping problem, and it's come to the point where, okay, the city was out last Monday, and they did a nice cleanup, but by 7 p.m. there was new stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it's to the point where we need to stimulate the neighbors in this area, because it's a chronic problem. But how can we get these neighbors to get engaged? So I think that this group would definitely, how can we do this?
Okay.
Because I'm spinning my wheels now. Once a week I'm there, and
Okay.
it's,
So we have Antonina and then Pete.
Just a point of clarification of what's on the agenda, I'm not quite clear, I'm sorry. Are we talking about getting a steering committee to decipher which would be,
My understanding, and I'm sorry if I didn't write it clearly, was that the group would discuss the areas of concern that we felt we should concentrate on, and then the next step would be to set up a subcommittee on that subject.
so the group is us, we're gonna.
That's what I'm hoping. It sounds like the initial part of our discussion has been dominated by illegal dumping, so we may have decided already, but let me get Pete's input and then find out if anyone else has stuff to add.
I just want to point out, I stumbled on this about a week ago on the same page with the helicopter picture. The city manager's office has established an illegal dumping task force. Excuse me, task force. And so it's just the city departments have gotten together to tackle this. We should get connected with them.
For sure.
Oh, very awesome.
I didn't know this existed. Part two of the whole thing is once you tell us what you're doing, but that's another battle for another
Well,
time.
isn't it nice that they asked for contact information for Diane Buchanan? Okay. Okay, so any other comments? Okay, Antonina?
So I guess I just want to, I hear about illegal dumping, I mean, I see it in my neighborhood, and it's not as prolific as some other areas, I'll admit to that, but I want to talk about speeding and cut-throughs in our neighborhood, and I think that's another one of the subjects that I heard other people talk about because of the speeding in the neighborhood.
Right.
And I'd like to see that on the table to discuss with Tom.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Third.
Fourth.
Well, okay, so the vice chair has made a suggestion that the subcommittee could tackle both. My thought would be there should be two separate committees, but of course, I leave this to the group. So, any, I'm
I'm
sorry?
with you, two separate, because they're totally different subjects.
Okay, any other ideas on either one or two subcommittees? Don't be shy, we're all friends here. Okay, so are there any objections to two separate subcommittees?
No, I think it's
Okay.
better for two.
Okay, so right now what I'm hearing is speeding and cut-through is being grouped together for one subcommittee and illegal dumping is a separate group. Are there any other issues besides these that the group considers worthy of a separate group of people concentrating on? Tina?
Homeless.
You know, actually, George, do you want to address that? I know, I'm passing the buck. Only because you're so eloquent as to explaining why that's kind of out of our purview.
No, I think the homeless issue, we talked about that a little bit last year at one of our CLC meetings, right, Pete?
Yes.
And that takes more than just this group. That's the city, that's the county, that's the state, that's other third parties to be involved. That's something that when we focus on this group, we want to do it in chunks and want to actually be able to make a difference in our neighborhoods and in our district. The homeless issue is much larger, and it takes, of course, affordable housing, it takes money, it takes resources, things of that nature. I think if the homeless issue is pertaining to, like I was saying earlier, you go into your Walgreens every day and you got a homeless guy sleeping right in front of the door, that's something we can work with our council member on, and he could point us in the right direction. But if you're talking about cleaning up full-blown encampments, across the city, it's a little different, so.
Well, so I'd like to just put in my 2 cents. So I suggested homeless because it's an area of concern for me. With the recent move of folks from the jungle, they are now, going into different areas. We have an encampment now in my neighborhood, which actually it got cleaned out, which is good. So what I'm thinking is that we don't solve the homeless problem, because you are absolutely right. It's not going to happen with this little group. There are too many different jurisdictions that have to get involved. But maybe what could happen is, the group better understands it and just keeps people updated as to what's going on. Is there something going on with microhousing, for example? Is there something going on with, wraparound services? How is the county getting involved? Has anybody contacted Union Pacific, and are they going to do something? These kinds of things, because there are a bunch of different components. That was where that suggestion was coming from.
No, that's a good point, and actually that's something we could work with Councilmember Prouse's office, and as he feeds us more info on it, then we could send it out through the Yahoo group.
And we have Kathy and then Levy.
Yeah, what I like, Tina, I also consider homelessness an issue because of the thing out of the jungle. Because people are now showing up in new locations, and we want to prevent any new encampment from getting entrenched in our neighborhoods. So I would like to discuss strategies on how to stop encampments from growing in neighborhoods and becoming encamped.
Okay, Levy?
I want to echo exactly what you said, Kathy. I think that the first step begins with us. Our neighborhoods are immediately impacted by it. And there's been a proliferation of it because it is now dispersed. We are the eyes and ears, and we're the ones that can look back on it. From the last campaign, there were some great ideas came about homelessness, about the fairgrounds, and focusing into a place to where we are in control. We're in control. The police. I think that that's something that we could do in this group. Whoever that task force is that's talking about it, I think that it's come up since the election of moving and having goods and services and support groups in that area. So if churches and other groups want to come in and feed the homeless, they have a way of doing it, and they're safe where they're coming to do that. I disagree with you. I think that that we are the beginning of resolving that problem. It begins with us because we're impacted directly by it.
Thank you, Levy.
I was gonna say too, since they dispersed the camp over here, I've talked to a few neighbors, and there's been, I don't know if the right term is burglary or robberies going on in our neighborhood, that they're going right into the backyard. It even happened at my house. As soon as there's kind of scoping neighborhoods and going right in backyards, or taking my neighbor's bird, took a bike out of my yard.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think all the surrounding neighborhoods have noticed it. You know, the Five Wounds Trail has had people move in there, with some with tents, some with tarps, some with RV motorhomes. I mean, it's a problem everywhere. I certainly acknowledge that, and I certainly acknowledge that it's not a comfortable thing for any neighbor or neighborhood to have to encounter or to put up with. And honestly, if there are folks that want to work on a subcommittee, I would be all in favor. But again, we were just hoping to be able to work on little chunks. As a procrastinator, I can tell you, the only way to get things done is to divide a project into little chunks that are manageable. Otherwise, you've got this great huge thing that you just know you're never gonna move that mountain, and so you're reluctant to start. So we're thinking we're gonna take the procrastinator approach and take little tiny chunks of a little tiny project and just get more and more chunks of this project until you actually have something substantial accomplished. That was our thought, and I'm happy to entertain any other thoughts. But at this point, we're
10 minutes left.
yes, Mary?
Just wanted to ask about another issue, and maybe just a short-term
Okay.
issue for your work plan. And this is my first time here, so I don't know if you've already brought it up. But Hensley is right in the middle of the rail where the proposed tankers are now supposed to be coming through. And, you know, I know that the city council took a position on that with San Luis Obispo, but maybe to find out what's the status of that, what's going on, where do things need to happen, seeing now that even some of the new tankers blow up, the standard good stuff blows up too. I mean, can we get an update, or how would that happen?
You know, honestly, I can't answer that question, but, so you're not talking about having this as a work plan issue, you're just trying to get information as to how
And
we
that's why
stay
it
updated?
is a short-term issue, because they're supposed to be taking a vote on it, where, you know, we have opportunities for influence. How
To
do we-
stop it,
To
or-
stop it, to make sure that our voice is heard, you know, along with the city council.
We
So-
can come back with some form of answer on that next month, if not sooner via email, so.
Okay.
But we can, I don't think we've heard a response officially yet. I know that we weren't the
But
only.
when are they gonna meet?
Yeah,
Are
we
they
weren't
gonna
the only
meet them?
entity that was, you know, voicing our opinion, so, but I can certainly look into that, and we can respond back, so.
Great.
Thank you.
Now, see, Mary, this is the perfect opportunity to be able to bring up things like this, because then we have a man of the hour to either tell us, I can find out, or I know about this, or let me check into it. So this is actually the perfect kind of thing to bring up at this type of a meeting. Okay, so now comes the hard part. Members of the various subcommittees up for consideration are speeding and cut-through, illegal dumping, and homelessness. So I would like to ask first if there are any volunteers with a passion on any one of these subjects that may want to work. Levy.
Since I brought it up, dumping.
Okay.
Dumping.
I'm sorry, okay, so it was Levy, Pete.
I want to be part of both.
You know what, we'll give
Me
you
too.
as much
We'll be
work
there.
as you wanna
Go
do.
ahead.
Okay, so D, you wanna be on speeding and dumping?
Yes.
Okay. And Antonina, I wasn't sure if I saw your hand up or not?
Speeding.
Speeding,
Prep
okay.
room.
This is going much more smoothly than I thought. Any other self-candidates, Tina?
Yeah, so I would be willing to work on speeding and also the homeless.
Okay. So we got a couple of double volunteers here. So I think 3 or 4 people are optimum for a subcommittee, and we have 3 each on the speeding cut through and on the illegal dumping. So I think there's room for 1 more, if anybody would care to serve on either one of these subcommittees. Okay, so we have Tina for a homeless subcommittee. A committee of 1 is not very fair to that committee person.
I'll do that with Tina.
Okay, so we have Kathy.
Yep.
Okay, anybody else would like to serve on the housing, sorry, oh, I guess that could be housing for the homeless, on a homeless subcommittee of this group. Committee of 2 is a little light. I really would think that 3 is kind of a
Well, but
I'll
given,
sign up
given
if
that,
you need a third.
well, I was gonna say, given that, you know, again, we're not gonna be solving this problem, it's really gonna be more just, you know, trying to figure out what's going on and where we can make an impact.
Okay, all right, so Don has agreed to be the 3rd, okay? Okay, so although our meetings are now recorded by Pete, I will go ahead and send out kind of a brief overview of the meeting so that everybody knows. I forgot more than once to not put everybody's addresses in the BCC field, and I apologize if I revealed anybody's identity. But I do try to do BCC, so if you are on a committee with somebody, try to get their contact information tonight so that the 3 of you of each of the groups will be able to contact one another and decide, you know, when to meet and what you would like to do to proceed. And I think that monthly updates would be nice, but everybody gets busy, and if there was no opportunity to meet, just let me know ahead of time, and I won't put it on the agenda. Does that sound fair to all the subcommittees? Okay. Okay. Well, now, we actually have a few minutes to discuss that river of spam that we were getting on the former D3 Yahoo group. And Pete, I'll let you go ahead and lead this section, please.
Okay. As you've noticed, the San Jose District 3 group thing has been flooded with, I call it Russian brides, but it's a lot of spam on it, they got it. So we want to get off of that to do it. What we want to do is we're going to create 2, we have created actually 2 different Yahoo groups. So Joan, instead of sending out emails with BCC or not, will send out all the official announcements, the agendas, whatever we have, and we can determine exactly what that is. And it's on this page. It's D3CLC. So that'll be a one-way communication thing from the chair to everybody who's here. You have to sign up for it. Your email stays hidden. Nobody knows what your email is. So people who subscribe to that thing, that's how you find out what's going on officially with the committee. Then there's a D3-CLC, and that'll be basically a direct replacement for the old group. So anybody can post, anybody can discuss, anybody can do anything they want on that. So that's a free-form thing for discussions. The other one is for official stuff only.
Well, you know, that actually solves my problem of not worrying about sending mass emails out to the group. If you're interested and want to know, you can see if anything has been posted regarding other district leadership groups, if there's information, you know, on say, a public meeting on the UAS, an announcement of the Neighborhoods Commission, the Arts Commission, upcoming meeting, something like that. That completely solves my problem, and now I don't have to ask the question of if I can send those. Antonina?
Just, you're saying that you'll get, those messages and information will be sent out on this D3-CLC Yahoo group?
No.
They'll be
Those,
on the original
the
D3.
D3CLC will be the interactive one where people can post messages and
The
respond to
D3-1.
one another.
Dash.
You know, and have, you know, a dialogue. The first one, the D3CLC, will be just a one-way only. I will post announcements. If you want to see them, you can look at them. If you're not interested, don't. But, you know, about a week before our meetings, check for the agenda.
So we have to go and find the
It's
information?
it's a proactive. Now, if you guys like, I could stick with the program of sending a group email with the reminder and the agenda, and all other announcements get posted on the one-way street so that you can look if you want, but if you're not interested, you can ignore it. Pete?
No, I think you got it wrong, Jill.
I have it wrong?
Yeah, the D3CLC will be the agendas, any other official thing, very low volume stuff.
Is that
Okay.
pushed to us?
That's pushed to you, there's no way to participate, it's read-only.
Oh, good.
We have to
Okay.
sign up for
Right.
it.
And you have to sign up for it, and it will replace the emails that Joan is sending out right now.
Okay, but I misunderstood in the question when Kathy said, oh, so I have to go look for it? And I said, yes, but that's when I thought, okay, if people don't want to have to remember to go look for it, I can send out the agenda. But what you're saying is that if people are interested, they should just go to that one website and they can see all the announcements at one time.
Well, all of these Yahoo groups work in any way you wish.
Okay.
So it can be an email. When you post the agenda, those who want will simply receive an email with the agenda just as they do now.
So is it like their settings, they just set it that they
Yes.
want to get email?
Yes.
When something's posted, they get a notification?
Right, so your choices are, every time something's posted, send me an email. You can do what they call a digest, which limits it to one a day, that's what I usually use. Or you can say, don't send me anything, and then you have to go to the Yahoo group itself to look at it.
Okay, so it's an individual preference as to how people want
Yes.
to receive the information. Okay, does that sound okay to you, Kathy?
Yes.
Okay,
Would-
anybody?
As long as I don't have to go looking for stuff, but
Okay.
I can ask that it be sent to me.
When you sign up, it's individual emails. Every
Okay.
time something is posted, it comes to you, you have to do another action to get out of that every one thing.
Okay.
But it's simple. And if you want, we can squirt out some instructions
That
on
would
how
be
to do
good.
it.
Okay, any other questions? Oh,
Yes,
Imelda.
are these pretty easy to find, or would it be best if Joan sent an invitation to join?
We can do that.
Yeah, thanks.
They're easy to find. Yahoo groups, D3CLC.
Some of us, it's not easy.
Well, I do have to say that when I got the initial invitation for the one-way one, I was kind of like, oh, do I click on this? Oh, there it is. And then I had to remember to look for the settings. So I would have said I was pretty computer literate, but you know, it took me a couple of seconds of looking puzzled before I actually figured it out. So it would be very cool to send instructions, I think. Okay. Man, this is a record. We are, hi, do you want to introduce yourself again?
Hi everyone, my name is Kevin Schroeder, I'm an SJSU student, I just got a class, so that's fine.
Yeah,
Running a little
Kevin,
late.
Kevin was here with us last month.